What's up, folks? I'm Odd, by the way, and today we're going to be continuing what I believe is the third installment in this series that I've been doing, where I basically fill in the remainder of the list of EEVEELOUTIONs. It's not an uncommon challenge, I feel like, for fan artists, but I figured that I'd try and put my own spin on it and have my own little collection of them, because why not? And of course, there's been some Pokemon news lately, so that's always a big, I think, motivator for me to draw fan art. I am getting more and more hype for the new games. I think I like Violet. I think that I like the idea of the futuristic one, but if they're substantially different, I don't know, maybe I'll get both. I actually have a job coming up which might actually put a bit of a delay on the videos, but I mean, I guess there's already been kind of a delay on videos, so it doesn't totally matter. Regardless, I will have an income again, so I can continue to buy stupid stuff. But with that in mind, I decided, after looking at my Lucians master list, my little collection of EEVEELOUTIONs, both real and fake, attributed to each of the types, I decided to land on kind of an odd couple in Poison and Ground. So Poison is only strong against Grass and Fairy currently, however it is resilient to a lot of the other types, and it is exclusively? No, it's also weak to Psychic, but it is also weak to Ground. So I figured that because these two have some good counteractiveness with each other, and Poison could stand up against something like Sylveon, that it would be a good introduction here for us. So, still wanted to follow this, like, semi-mammalian cute theme, beside, you know, I guess, like, Meleon and Avian, which had bird and kangaroo stuff going on. Didn't I draw them together? Oh no. But regardless, a cute theme, which is usually revolving around mammals. Not to say that, I guess, like, reptiles and things that are more commonly venomous aren't totally cute, but it isn't necessarily something that I would see an Eevee evolving into. So I wound up doing a little bit of research before this and looked up some venomous mammals. And let me just point out, further proving their weird chimera-like existence, apparently, because of course they do, platypus have poison barbs. Specifically male platypus have barbs with venom on the ends. Like, what? Why? And I still felt like that was going a little bit too far, and I mean, it's a platypus. Like, what do you do with a platypus? I've actually made a platypus Pokemon Fakemon before, so I should know what to do with a platypus, but I don't think that it suits an evolution. Now, apparently, hedgehogs, little tiny, like, itty-bitty, in my country, almost exclusively pet hedgehog, though they're not venomous by nature, in the wild they will spread poison onto their barbs, or irritants, that will act as, like, infectious or irritating, like, further defense, really, basically, because it's like, you know, they already have their quills come off, and so, you know, if the quill has something that'll give you an infection, you're probably not gonna go and try and bite a hedgehog again, if you're not, you know, dead. I think porcupines do something similar to this. So I wound up deciding to go for a hedgehog design, because I figured hedgehogs would be adorable anyway. And I can already imagine, like, the Pokédex entry of this Pokemon, like, having spread some sort of poison solution on its spines or something like that, and ultimately decided that I was going to sketch out two different forms mainly so that I could show what it looked like maybe when it was active versus when it was inactive. So there's one that's a bit more of a defensive stance, where it's kind of all curled up on itself and it's pulling its quills over itself like a hood, and an offensive stance where it's just kind of standing there. So the more dynamic stance, obviously, here is the defensive one and is kind of the main one, but I wanted to show both for the sake of the design. I could imagine this particular Pokemon actually getting something like Barb Barrage, like Quillfish in the Hisuian games, like finally getting something relatively useful, which is funny because I think that, you know, Porcupine and a Hedgehog are more likely to have their quills come off than a Fugu fish, so something like Barb Barrage definitely makes sense. Maybe it would still be its own move, but similar to it. Now, when it comes to the other Pokemon, my normal type Pokemon that I wanted to do, I always wind up doing this. I get excited about the one that seems more or less difficult, and I always kind of pre-plan out that one, and then I have nothing to do for the other design. So eventually, after looking through quite a bit of like deserty type animals, I landed on a fennec fox. Now I know that we already have a pretty prominent fennec fox Pokemon, like literally it's got fennec in its name, it's Fennekin, it's a starter Pokemon, but there are obviously loads of same animal variants in the Pokemon world, and I feel like that this differs enough. So in the case of this design, I wanted to have a bit more of a mysterious desert dwelling type. It feels like normal Pokemon are almost like sandy, right? Because they're not, or not normal, ground Pokemon. I've been saying normal this whole time. Ground Pokemon are more deserty and sandy, you know, like as opposed to rock Pokemon, because otherwise it's like, I feel like you would associate them together. And I mean, obviously, you're looking more toward things like soil and earth as opposed to like hard igneous rock. But to me, and it feels like within Pokemon, a lot of ground types, if they're not straight up like digging animals, are these sort of wispy, desert-like creatures. And honestly, of the two of them with this design, it wound up getting a little bit more Eevee. Like, I'm aware that my whole line has been taking some big liberties, and it has been brought to my attention actually before, that all of the Eevee forms are predominantly special attack types. So before this physical special split, all of their type moves would have actually been special. So maybe it's more likely that we're due for a more physical evolution line in some other Pokemon, so other than Eevee. Like, get kind of a counterpart to Eevee that's more physical and has all these branching evolutions. But still, this series is about Eevees, so Eevees these forms shall be. In my mind, they are EEVEELOUTIONS. And after I got all the sketches lined out, I moved on, before or after lining? At some point or another, I think after just my initial sketches, I moved on to some color sketches, which are infinitely helpful, and I always forget to do them, so I'm really happy that I got them down this time, because I think that it really helps out the nature of the designs to get in some basic design elements before I go in and try and fill in everything without doing like a whole bunch of color testing on the line work or something like that. And now somewhere in lining the hedgehog, I did not realize that he had backwards thumbs. He's supposed to be pulling the little bundle of quills basically over himself like a hood. It's kind of the little edgy emo little guy. And I cannot be trusted with thumbs and left and right. I always think like, oh, okay, well the thumbs are going to point toward the character's face, but that's not the case when they're turned around. And I get turned around, and it's just not a good time. This has happened many times before. So yes, cannot be trusted with left and right. And unfortunately, it does not get fixed during the speed paint. It will, however, be fixed in the finished results. I made sure of that. Don't worry. I usually name when I'm in the sketch mode. For some reason, I wound up not doing that. I think that I was mainly just focused on trying to understand these designs because I had no idea what to do with them before. And so at some points or another, I might be you might notice the screen be kind of still, and that's me pulling up like 8 different thesaurus things in like the background on my internet side. And for one, I felt like for the poison type, Venomion sounded a little bit too much like that Muppet song, just do 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 do. Venomion. But in my thesaurus searches, I did find the word virulent, which means particularly poisonous or contagious or infectious, which I feel like works perfectly with this particular poison type and how they canonically, quote unquote, spread their poison. So the poison type is named Veruleon. For the ground type, I did have a little bit more sketchiness about the naming. I think, I don't know, I feel like there's just another word out there that could be better for this, but for the time being, I decided to go for a bit more of an archaeological theme. They look kind of like this forgotten Egyptian evolution of old, so I actually called them Incheon. It's kind of, I guess, a cop-out, really, but honestly, it feels like it could work for something like with what it seems like we're getting with Gen 9, which is this weird, like, time split. So the main characters are all seemingly in some sort of different time era or something like that. And I could imagine like some sort of strange forgotten Pokemon as to versus like maybe in like more accessible or in the past and like very inaccessible in the future or something like that, you know? I've got my brain on Gen 9, baby. I'm thinking up some stuff. I really have no other things to say about that though, because I don't know. I'm not the type of person to go completely into depth about something, and it's not like I'm looking up like leaked information. I'd actually rather not spoil myself very much, just because it feels like it kind of hinders my initial enjoyment of the games, and I'd like to have that experience should I be able to purchase them by the time they come out, which hopefully I should. Which, by the way, yeah, the job that I'm coming into is actually going to be working for the park, for the city, for the summer, so that's going to be fun. It is mostly part-time, so hopefully I should get some more stuff done, and now that I have kind of a purpose, maybe I will actually be able to schedule videos a bit more thoroughly, just around my week and stuff like that, because I've just been kind of floating around lately, so I'm sure some scheduling will do me some good. I don't know whether or not it will do me good for my videos, but mentally, overall, I think that it'll do me pretty good. And mainly, I'm going to be working only on weekends, like 4 days a week. So, it's not going to be much of a concern anyway, especially if I still wind up posting on, like, Thursdays, which seems to be my weird day. But at that, here are the finished results, both in just the plain form and in my Lucian's master list. Got 2 more added to the pack. Now, I've got 4 remaining creatures, so which of these 2 do you think that I should do? I have absolutely no idea insofar. If not, I'll probably figure it out at some point or another once I get the will to do another one of these videos. But until then, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see y'all next time.